All right, there. Um, okay, so today we're going to do some heart expansive, heart and opening, back bendy kind of feelings in our body in our practice. Someone in the last couple of days said to me, "So the only thing important is my exhale, right?" And I realized that I've done everybody a disservice by focusing so much on the exhale all the time because we need that. We need the exhale. We need to lengthen the exhale. We need to help our nervous system relax and calm down by using the exhales. But that by no means means that the inhale is any less important. Matter of fact, the inhale is super duper important. We oxygenate ourselves. We have prana flowing through our bodies because of our inhales. So without it, we would diminish our vitality a whole lot. So even though it's not the emphasis when we're trying to relax and calm ourselves, it certainly is a really important aspect of our breathing. And anytime you're working with breath, which I hope is every day, it's important to remember that the most important thing for good breathing is to set the table for the breath. It's not to pull and drag the breath in. We think about when you are having house guests come for a nice dinner. You're not just dragging people off the street and pulling them into your house and plopping them down on the chair and making them stay. We don't, we don't grip and grab our breath. We invite our breath. So, when you have a dinner party, you clean your house and you get organized and you prepare a meal and you think about the meal and you set a nice table and you have music playing and you get everybody's favorite things and you take the time and the effort to create a scenario in which the guests that are arriving are welcomed and want to hang out and linger with you in your home. And we want to feel this way with our breath, that we want to create the ambiance for our breath to want to come in and stay and be fully fledged in our lungs. So this is important because a lot of times we tend to take a breath. Even the wording that we use, we take a breath, we take a deep breath instead of inviting a deep breath or exploring a deep breath or making space for a breath. So even just the way we talk about the breath is an example of how we tend to think about it. So I invite you today to think about the breath in this way, where everything that we'll do in our bodies is really a preparation to allow breath in. Um, so, what is the aspects of that? We obviously our rib cage is probably, one of the most important aspects, our rib cage and our diaphragm. So, a lot of people can get very clamped down on their rib cage and kind of shrink movement as time goes by. There can be a narrowing or a shrinking of our rib cage depending on what kind of movement potential we have in our bodies. If we sit in front of a computer and we just kind of, ossify over the years, then we're not going to have a lot of pliability and plasticity in our rib cage. So making sure our ribs are mobile is a really important aspect. Making sure that we are aware of the fullness of our rib cage, paying attention to where you have places in your body where you get shrunk and tight and where you have places that are free and try to expand those free places. And then, of course, the movement of the diaphragm. This is a unconscious guarding that we can all do at times. And as always, that I've talked about in the past, that we are trained how to breathe unconsciously by the people we are raised by. So whoever our young childhood, whoever those people were that we spent time with in our home, those are the people that we learn to breathe from. It's purely unconscious. We're not taught this verbally most of the time as young children. So you're probably breathing just like your parents or whoever raised you. So to recognize if you see a pattern like that, that you can adjust, you can change. And breathing patterns are probably the most entrenched patterns of movement we have in our body. 15,000 at least breaths every single day for all the years that you've been alive. That's a lot of patterning. So it's not something that can just change overnight. It requires awareness and diligence and slow and steady consistent practice to make changes in our breathing. So, and then of course, there's so much else, besides just our patterning and our ribs and our diaphragm. There's lots of other musculature in our neck and shoulders, our pelvic floor, our spinal muscles, the way our spine moves, our freedom and mobility in our spine, our low back muscles. I mean, there's just so many aspects of our torso that really contributes to healthy breathing, as well as the ground feel that we have. So, this yielding and grounding that we cultivate in our yoga practice also facilitates our capacity to invite a beautiful space for our breath to enter. So I say all these things just to help you recognize that although breathing is our most basic and simple thing that we do from the moment we're born to the moment we die, it's also very complex, that it's not necessarily something that you can just do unconsciously for all your days and assume that it's going to go smoothly. What a beautiful thing that it's one of the few areas of our physiology where we can do it unconsciously and we can do it consciously. And what a beautiful thing to have that autonomic nervous system where we have access to it in lots of different planes of consciousness. So, and it's our life force. So let's just have some deep gratitude for our breathing. So as we begin our practice and know that, we're going to do things to open up for inhales today, let's start just by finding a comfortable seat and sending some focus and attention into the breath. And I always think it's a good idea before you pay attention to the breath to just have a quick little check-in with the body and get yourself embodied, grounded in your physical being, and then touch into the feeling of your breath. So first, let's feel our ground. Feel the roots of your pelvis and a sense of connection, ground connection. And then noticing the spine. Are you free? Are you not free? What's happening in your spine today? Are you habitually collapsing and shrinking? Or do you have a good sense of posture? And then once even if it's not your norm, even if you have to kind of insist that your body has good posture in this moment, let's notice now the breath as we feel the posture give way for lots of space for our breathing. And don't worry about the breath so much just yet. There's going to be plenty of time to feel our way into this practice. So just pay attention to what's right now. And don't feel like you have to change much. We already changed a few things. Don't feel like you have to try to elongate the inhale extremely or the exhale or anything at all. See if you can just notice as we prepare our body in good posture, what's available in this moment. You might notice that your breath is high and tight. It might be difficult to kind of expand into the fullness of your lungs, and that's okay. We'll work on a little bit of pranayamic techniques toward the end of our practice after we've done a lot of opening. So this is just our baseline that we're touching. And then when you feel ready, bring your hands to your heart. And let's just have a moment of centering, grounding yourself, offering an intention. All right, and then release your hands. Okay, we're going to start on our back as we usually do. Okay, so take a moment to stretch out and lengthen. And Maybe get a little excited for the joyous nature of heart opening. Maybe you've had some closed heart space because of circumstances of your heart. So let's just enjoy the fact that we're going to just be so kind and generous to the heart today. All right, so drop into your body, have a little mini shavasana before we begin, and feel as if you can just spread your body out like water spreads out on the ground. And then when you're ready, stretch your arms overhead and let's just enjoy that beginning stretch where we maybe stretch one side a little longer, stretch the other side a little longer, and open up our ribs and our hips and our shoulders. And then draw your knees into your chest. And a little bit of rocking, swaying from side to side. All right, and then hang on to the knees in the circle, kind of rolling your knees in one direction. Pay attention to your low back. Recognize that even your low back is a part of your breathing apparatus. Really, our whole body is part of our breathing apparatus. And then circle the other way, but see if you can just sense into some ease here, letting your hip flexors relax and ease across your pelvis and low back. And then we'll open up our knees away from the midline and bring them back in. Nice circling movements with our knees. So just warming the hip joints a little bit, recognizing how much our pelvis has to do with our breath. All right, and then hold your knees out to the sides wherever they're comfortable and have a little bit of movement where we're just drawing our knees slightly toward our armpits, slightly away from our armpits, just kind of on that outside range of abduction of our hip joints, and just sense into the wideness of your pelvis. And then draw your knees back in toward the chest. Hug your right knee and left leg long on the ground, and we'll roll around in your ankles and wiggle through your toes. Feel some movement. I don't know if it's a matter of aging or what, but the deeper years that go by of my yoga practice, the more I recognize that mobility is one of the greatest gifts that our yoga practice gives us. The more mobile our joints are, the more free we feel in the body, the more we get to enjoy being in our bodies. Let's cross that right knee over to the left, stretch open through your chest. And notice your breath in might naturally want to expand here, that you just might naturally want to open up for good, healthy breathing. Notice what expands as you take a deep breath in, what condenses as you breathe out. And then draw that knee back into the chest. Pick up your head, a little rounded spine, and then release and switch sides. Left knee into your chest. Pick up your head, a little rounded spine on this side, engaging your core a little bit, and then release your head down and give a nice good squeeze of that knee. Roll around in your ankles and wiggle through your toes and feel some freedom in your feet, whatever that means to you. Nice and heavy through your head and shoulders. And then we'll cross that left knee over to the right and roll open into a twist and enjoy what it feels like to take a deep breath here as you twist open. It doesn't have to be your biggest twist. You can even put a block underneath your shin if you'd like, so you're not so deep in the pose, whatever feels good. Enjoy the stretch across your pecs and open your breath. Okay, and then come back to center. Put your feet on the ground, arms stretched out to the sides, and let's just gently windshield wiper our knees left and right. And you can go a little deeper into the twisting if you'd like by swinging your top leg a little further over to the side. Your choice of how deep this twist go, but recognizing Then mobilizing your pelvis, your hips, your spine, your rib cage, your shoulders, all of these things matter for the invitation for the breath. All right, and then when you're ready, stretch open to a star on the ground. Let's roll our wrists and our ankles and just touch the edges of your body. Take a deep breath, and as your exhale comes, draw your knees into your chest. Let's repeat that one more time. Expanding big on the in-breath, feeling open, condensing small on the out-breath. And then roll to your side and come up to your hands and your knees. Find your way to all fours. And have a moment, before we do some cat-cows, see if you can just let your belly fall to the ground and let your diaphragm release. See if you can feel your diaphragm releasing a little bit. Sometimes it's nice to make some simple sounds, ha, or anything that naturally comes out of your mouth to release the diaphragm and let it fall with gravity. So make a little noise on the exhales if it feels good. And just notice if this is hard for you, if it's hard to release the diaphragm, if you feel kind of bound up and not able to surrender. And that's just good information for you. And then when you're ready, we'll start moving through some cat-cow. So really focus on the spine now and recognizing how much spinal movements impact rib cage movements and impact lung movements. So see if you can notice those connections as you ripple through your vertebrae. Arching and rounding the spine. Taking your time, moving slowly, recognizing that extremes do not have to exist in order for you to get nice and free. All right, and after a few rounds of tending to that, move your spine in other varied ways. You can wag your tail like a fish and let your spine kind of ripple like you're a fish swimming in the sea. Maybe you're moving your pelvis around. Maybe you're recognizing how your pelvis and your low back tension might contribute to how you're breathing. Maybe you're moving your head around. Maybe you're moving your rib cage, your shoulders around. So try to just free yourself up. And then we'll drop down into a child's pose and walk the hands far out in front of you. And notice, we do this every day. I think it's really important to do practices like this every day, if for no other reason than to keep ourselves very supple for our breathing. So notice the subtleties of this practice that you do regularly and how much it does impact your ability to have ease of breath. Walk the hands over to one side, either side, whatever feels good first. And you can drop your hips back toward your heels, or maybe your hips are a little higher. Let's focus on the rib cage here. Can you feel that long side stretch? Invite the breath in deeply. Invite the breath out. Imagine open windows and open doors and spring breezes floating through where it's billowing curtains one direction and then billowing in the other direction. Walk your hands the other way when you're ready. Try to create open passages, fluid breath, invitation. All the doors and windows are open. No barricades, no fences, no screen doors, no locked doors, everything open and ready to invite. And then come back to center. And let's find our way into some rib cage rolling here. So chest down, chest or rib cage over to the side, up toward the sky, over to the other side, and down. So I know I usually give the image of imagine yourself inside a paper towel tube and you want your ribs to paint broadly across the whole inside of the tube that you're in. So, notice which area, if you are painting the inner walls of your tube, which areas are getting a lot of paint, which areas are a little scant, and see if you can spread things out. Notice your breath while you're doing this. We're not holding our breathing. We're keeping breathing as we mobilize our rib cage as best as we can. And then change directions. Other way. Mobilizing the ribs. Notice where you breathe in, where you breathe out. Notice where the paint is a little scant and where you can, broaden your strokes. All right, and then back towards child's pose. Okay, let's take our two blocks, stack them one right next to each other with the short edges touching, and bring your elbows up onto the blocks. Elbows are shoulder width apart or maybe a teeny bit wider. It's good maybe to curl your toes under so your hips have a little height underneath them. And then drop your thumbs toward your spine and stretch open through your lats and your triceps. Take a deep breath in here. Notice what's starting to free up by these postures. Lengthen from elbows to your hips, lengthening through the ribs. Fill and empty your breath. And then come back out of there. Bring your hands back down onto the ground. Release your shoulders, wag your tail a little bit, and then we'll find our twist. Reaching one arm up, give your wrist a little bit of a roll up there in the sky, and then exhale and drop that shoulder down. Gaze toward the floor. A nice easefulness in your neck. And mobilize the breath here. Notice the ribs and their relationship to your spine. And then face the ground, shoulders stretching a little more now, so collarbones broad, the arms still underneath you. Drop your hips back toward the heels a little bit more. Noticing how the shoulders, the neck, the ribs, the pelvis, the spine, all of it relates to welcome breath. Inhale, reach that arm back up, a little bit of rolling. And then switch sides, other arm up, a little wrist roll. Drop that shoulder down and twist. Gaze toward the ground and enjoy what you're feeling. Having some dedicated time for mobility practices is so very good for your body. So this is just one tiny aspect of our yoga practice. There's so much. Let's have a moment of gratitude for all the ways that our yoga practice keeps us healthy, mind, body, and spirit. Okay, when you're ready, face the ground a little bit more, stretch the outside of that shoulder, wide collarbones, drop the hips back a little bit. And then inhale, bring that arm up, give your wrist a little bit of a roll, and come back. With on all fours, last time, we're going to turn our palms so our fingers point toward our knees. Have your hands at least shoulder width apart. And take a moment to drop your shoulder blades down and lift your chest, and then drop a little back toward your heels with your buttocks. Opening up your wrists. Opening up your forearms. And then relax. Come back onto your heels. Give your wrists a nice shake. Inhale up onto our knees, reaching the arms up to the sky. Exhale, back toward a child's pose with your arms down at your sides. Again, inhale up onto your shins. Big breath. Exhale. Relax. Take your hands on the small of your back, palms facing up, maybe your fingers interlace, and let your elbows drop toward the ground. Just open up the shoulders a little bit here, letting the shoulder blades expand. Breathe into the back of the body. And one last time, up onto our shins, reaching the arms up, big breath. Invitation for the breath. Exhale, hands down onto the ground, curl the toes under and lift to a dog pose. Take a little time to pedal your feet here, bending one knee, dropping the other heel down toward the ground. Take any kind of leg opening practice in dog pose that feels good to you. Remember that feeling of grounding, the opening up of the soles of our feet also contribute to our breath. All the far-flung places that you may think have nothing to do with your breath actually do. So let's spread the bones of our feet, spread the bones of our hands, feel the ground, yield, and push and reach. Lift the sit bones, let the backs of the legs start to open up. And then walk your feet forward, come to Uttanasana, forward fold, relax your head. Let your neck bobble around a little bit. Inhale for a halfway lift, opening up through the spine. Exhale and melt to fold again. One more time, feel the rhythm of your breath. Halfway lift, expand the inhale. And then exhale and fold. Take your hands to the base of your skull. A little bit of traction on your spine here. Draw the head down. Slightly in, chin toward your chest. Stretching those paraspinal muscles. And then relax your hands. Bend your knees. Inhale, rise all the way up. Bring the arms to the sky. If you're dizzy, pause, squeeze to the midline. And we'll cross the right arm over the left. The eagle arms drop the shoulders. And let's get into some of those extra muscles up around our neck and shoulders that tend to tighten our breath. Open up the upper traps. Now notice your breath here. Notice the inhale, what's available. And inhale, bring the arms up, change sides. Left arm on top, drop your shoulders, widen your collarbones, lift the elbows a little bit. Relax your jaw and the base of your skull and your eyes. Notice the windows of your breathing. And then release. Bring those arms up. Take a deep breath in and let's cactus open our chest. A nice squeeze to the back body, opening the heart, and then exhale, rounding in. One more time. Arms up, expand. Exhale, palms together. Bring your hands down, give them a little shake. Grab onto the right wrist with the left hand. A little bit of a pull, not so much where you're changing the angle of your shoulders, but traction. And then lift that right ear up. So hugging, pulling on the right wrist and lifting the right ear. And then maybe nod yes, just a little bit. And just kind of sense into those scalene muscles on the side of your neck. Also very important for breathing. How's your breath right now? Okay, come back to center. Switching sides, grab onto the left wrist, a little bit of a tug. Lift the left ear. Okay, and then have a little bit of extension. Breathe. Breathe into the muscles in the side of your neck. Touch the breath there. And then start to nod your head a little bit. And you can try some nose or some like kind of yes, kind of nose. Just move your head in a way that stretches open those scalenes. And then relax. Take a deep breath. Shrug your shoulders snug up against your ears. Inhale. Exhale. Hands, another shake. Deep breath in, reaching the arms up. Exhale, swan dive forward. A halfway lift, opening through the heart. Exhale and melt. Let's step back to a dog pose. Feel extension in your body and breathe. Full deep breath in. Full deep breath out. Come forward into a plank. Drop your shoulder blades away from the ears. Feel the sturdiness of your center body. So hug everything toward the midline. Lots of strength. Root the hands. And then we'll put the knees down onto the ground and find the earth. Roll those shoulders a few times. Take a deep breath. First of the back bends. Open the chest. Exhale and come back down. Keep your elbows bent. Draw your elbows back so the shoulder blades move down the back. Push off your hands. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, coming back down. Up onto all fours, give your spine a little wiggle. Right foot comes forward. Keep the back knee on the ground here and just stretch open through your hip flexors, and we'll have some movement here in a moment. But first, let's just open up through the front of our pelvis and recognize how available your breath is when your hip flexors are open. And put your hands back down onto the blocks, curl your back toe under, and we'll mobilize here. So we're straightening the front leg and we're bending the front leg. And we're breathing as we go. See if you can keep the hips square and the spine long. So we're not collapsing into the diaphragm. We're not hunkering our chest inward. It doesn't matter if your leg goes straight or not. Keep the spine spacious. Where are you naturally inhaling? Where are you exhaling? And then place that knee back down onto the ground. Your back toes can curl under or be flat. You can have extra padding under your knee if you need. Take a deep breath, come up onto your knee. Reach that arm up in the air, left arm up in the air. And you might want to block under your hand or keep your hand on your thigh, your choice. But we're stretching up and over and enjoy the openness through your ribs, through your hips. Lunge. And then when you're ready, turn that into a twist with your forearm on your knee, your elbow on your knee, or your hand on your knee. Find the support of this pose. I like to put my right hand on my thigh so that, I'm pressing into it to give some length for my spine. While you're here, breathe deeply in, deeply out. Drop the shoulders. Try not to hunker your chest or lift your shoulders. And then come back to center. Take the hands on the inside edge of your foot on blocks or the ground, and let's just butterfly our knee open here. Today's not going to be a heavy standing pose day, so just give a little juice to your hips. And then see what it feels like to drop some weight into your left hand. Take your right hand on the inside of your knee and open up. So don't collapse to the ground. So we're still hugging toward front heel and back knee toward each other to support, but open up that knee. Open up the chest. And then come back to center, child's pose. Let your hip flexors relax. Soften them. Breathe into the back of the ribs. And let's bring our left foot forward when you're ready. Coming to a lunge on this side. First, before we mobilize, just feel your way into the front of that back leg, your psoas muscle, and how related to your diaphragm it is. Breathe here. Opening up the hip flexors, opening up the pelvic floor, all these things matter for the breath. Hands down onto the blocks, lift your back knee up off the ground, and we'll bend and straighten. And remember, we're keeping the spine spacious and the hips square. It doesn't matter how straight your leg goes. Try not to collapse the spine. Notice your breathing. And then when you're ready, you can put your knee back down, rise up, hand on thigh, reaching that arm up and over. Take a deep breath. Nice and stable through our legs. And we'll take a twist here. So forearm, elbow, or hand on your knee. Support the lift of your spine. We're still hugging to the midline with the legs. Hug your front heel and back knee toward each other. So we want our legs to be stable. And then open your breath. Big, deep breaths in. And come back. Let's bring our hand to the inside edge of our left foot. And just butterfly that knee open and closed. Open and closed. You can have your hands on blocks too. They don't have to be on the ground. And then as you open that knee and keep it open, what's holding you here and not letting you collapse? So we don't want to lock through our shoulders and elbows. We don't want to kind of sink into our pelvis. Use the strength of your legs. Front heel and back knee hug toward each other. And then when you're ready, open up and bring your hand onto that knee. Marry stability and openness at the same time. Open the chest. Feel that hip stretch. And then come back to center, back to a child's pose again, and just enjoy the compression into the hips. Come to lie down on your right side and grab onto your left ankle and stretch your left quad. Remember, we're not letting the knee lift up. We're keeping it in line with our hips. Feel the pubic bone lift toward the belly button to help stabilize the pelvis, and then stretch your whole thigh back. Heel hugging close to the buttocks. Notice the breath. And then release. And we'll roll to the other side and prepare our quads on this side. Okay, so remember our knee is in line with our hip. We're not letting it lift to the sky. Nice and stable through your pelvis. Heel close to your buttocks or as close as it goes. And then whole thigh drawing back. Stretch your knee away from your hip and the whole thigh moves back. Paint now the paintbrush across all your quads. Deep breathing in, deep exhales. And then relax and melt that. Come on to your back. Okay, feet down onto the ground. Let's lift to a bridge pose. Open up across your chest. Take your shoulder blades toward each other. Arms pressing down into the ground. Root your legs. Big breaths here. Let your diaphragm move. Look down your body and see your belly move. Mobilize the diaphragm in this pose. Feel your way into those lower ribs. Okay. Relax. Put your pelvis back down onto the ground. Shift your hips over to the right. Knees come up to the left. Twist open and stretch your right arm out. Twisting to really open up the ribs and the spine and the chest. Notice your breath. Big, full, deep in breaths. All right, come back to center. Scoot the hips over to the other side. Drop your knees down. Enjoy the stretching open of your chest. Let your breath come in deeply. And then bring your knees back up. Roll to the side, and we're going to grab one or two blocks. So you get to choose. We're going to have the block on the lowest height across our back, so in between our shoulder blades, underneath us, across our spine on the lowest height. So you can choose, let me just show you for a moment. We can choose to have this here with our head back on the ground. And if you're like, oh no, my neck doesn't like that, then have a block at the same height. Try not to do heart bench. We want to have the same height with the head or a little lower. So our chest is the highest part. Bend your knees, and we're going to do a few different movements here. So open up across your chest and stretch your arms. Roll your wrists a few times. And then just rest here and open the chest up. Fill your breath and empty it. Enjoy those lower ribs opening up and breathing. We're setting the table for the breath. So don't take the breath, invite the breath. Make the space for the breath. And then now, reach your hands straight up toward the sky, fingers reaching. And then we'll grab onto the opposite elbow. So bend your elbows, hand on opposite elbows. Reach the arms up, elbows up toward the sky, and then stretch your arms over your head. Staying on that block, your knees are bent, your feet are on the floor. Big breaths. Enjoy all the room to breathe in. Coming back up, reach the hands to the sky, grab onto the other elbow, switch the arms, elbows up toward the sky, and then stretch your arms up over your head. And you just go as far as you go. They might be on your forehead, that's fine. So, wherever you land. Focus on the lower rib cage, inviting breath. All right, last time, arms straight up toward the sky, fingers toward the sky, and then we'll release and roll to your side and curl into a little ball and puff the back body out. Breathe into the back of the ribs here. See if you can reach behind you, just get rid of the blocks. Okay, so it's out of your way. And then stay on your right side, palms are together, knees are together, ankles are together, legs are at right angles, and we're going to twist open, roll open here. Big breath in, and then exhale, coming back, palms together. Twice more. Inhale, open, big breath in. Exhale, close up. Notice your rib cage mobilizing. Notice your diaphragm having a little ringing out. Pause here and breathe deeply after 3 rounds of breath. Just be still and have a deep breath in. Full breath out. And then we're going to roll to our left. Palms together, knees, ankles together. You can always support under your head if you need to with a block or a blanket. Deep breath in, open up the book, bring your arm behind you, turn your head. Exhale, bring your hand back as your head turns back. Opening up the rib cage, letting it mobilize. After you've done 3, we'll pause there and just let your body rest. Feel the breath into the back of you. And then we'll put it on, roll onto our back, put our feet on the ground one more time. Pause here. We're going to just open up our pelvic floor a little bit. So take your blocks, 2 of them, underneath your knees for a Supta Baddha Konasana. So we're on our back. We're not getting all the props out. Just a block underneath each leg. Bring your hands onto your low belly. And see what you can do to just let the breath touch the lower abdomen. Feel your way into the openness of your pelvic floor. All right, and then put your feet on the ground, happy baby pose. Hold either your feet or behind your knees and rock at first. Free your back up, relax your spine. And then see what it feels like to straighten one leg a little bit or a lot. And then back to center and straighten the other leg. Holding the sole of your feet or behind your leg. And then back to center. And then both legs. And it doesn't matter how far. You can hold the inner feet. You can hold the calves inside the knees. You can have your legs straight or a little bent. Just feeling that sense of opening across the pelvis. And then back to a happy baby, a full happy baby. Grab your feet or knees, stretching down. All right, release that posture, stretch to a star, expanding open, knees into your chest, round the spine. Stretch out one more time long on the ground, like we do in the beginning. This time, perhaps crossing one ankle over the other, perhaps inching your torso, your shoulders over to the left, and just feel that right side body full length. Big breath into your lower ribs, into your side waist, into the deep belly. And then back to center. Scoot your shoulders over to the right. We're making like a C in our body. Cross your ankle. Big breath. Doesn't really matter which ankle you cross. You know, experiment with both. See what feels better. Right, and then come back to center. Roll to your side. Come back up onto all fours. Wiggle around in your spine. That was a lot. Maybe a cat-cow. Maybe some circling through your ribs or your hips. Kind of just loosen up the body after that deep work. Curl your toes under and lift to a dog pose. Feel your sense of ground. Yield. Open up the breath. Walk your feet forward. Come to Uttanasana. Push through your feet, rising up. Let's cactus open the chest. Round in. Take your fists in front of you and stretch your back. Breathe into the back of the ribs. And then release your arms down. Roll your shoulders back. And notice your Tadasana. Big breath in. Full breath out. Let your belly release, let your diaphragm release, let the backs of your knees release, your pelvic floor, the soles of your feet. Let everything relax the gates to open the breath. All right, last thing we'll do before we just do a little teeny bit of pranayama is to just give yourself a little pounding. If we had, another half hour, I would get the ball out and do a bunch of the breathing on the ball that we've done before. Okay. So if you want to keep going after your practice with some of this breath work or later today, feel free to do a little bit of that. So, get your low back in this pounding. You can even pound onto your hips, your sacrum, noticing your pelvis, maybe your lower belly, all the way up to your chest. Pound on your chest a little bit, right up against your collarbones, into those upper ribs, maybe under your armpit. Maybe on the tops of your shoulders, even around your throat, on your face, all the places that breathe us. All right, and then just pause here, ground again, open up all the gates, the soles of the feet, the backs of the knees, the pelvic floor, the belly, the diaphragm, the ribs, the collarbones, the neck, even the inside of your ears and jaw. Open up all your gates, all your doors are open. The air can come in and leave. We've set the table. Just enjoy the breath. Invite your guest in. Now see if you can fill the bottom ribs, the middle, and then top, like you're pouring into a deep pitcher, filling a bowl of water. Full exhales as well. We're not ignoring the exhales. Breathe into the back of the ribs, the sides of the ribs, the front of the ribs, bottom ribs, middle ribs, top ribs. Fill your bowl. Notice if you're using the accessory muscles up around your shoulders and neck a little less. Can the backs of your knees breathe in? Can the soles of your feet breathe in? Can the pelvic bowl and the pelvic floor breathe in? Is the diaphragm open for business? Can you ground? How do you feel? Do you feel solid, like nobody could knock you over? Do you feel a sense of balancing effort, not effort, but stability and easefulness? Do you feel grounded and spacious? Is your mind resting? How is all the breath work making you feel? And we'll come down onto the ground for Shavasana. Feel free to put any support underneath you that you need, a bolster, underneath your knees. And let's continue with this good feeling of breathing as you enter Shavasana. It's different when we're lying on the ground. Our orientation to breath will change. But can you still feel the sense of grounding, sense of ease in your body, the focus of your mind, the fullness of your breath? Let your body melt and let your body breathe. All the guests are coming. Begin to deepen our breathing again. Invite the breath deeply. If your arms are close to your body or your legs are close to your body, give yourself a little more room for this last couple of breaths. Let's spread our arms, spread our legs a little teeny bit more or a lot more, and enjoy the bigness of you. Just breathe into the bigness of you. Invite this pranic energy in, our life force, vitality. Invite your vitality in. And then when you're ready, take your time, roll to your side. Move slowly, pause for a moment on your side, let your back round a little bit and breathe into the back. And then when you feel ready, you can lift yourself. And as you come upright to a comfortable seat, take a moment to just be aware of the changes that have happened in your practice. Does your diaphragm feel different? Do your ribs feel different? Does the well of your inhale, the capacity of your big bowl of inhale, has it changed? Does your mind feel good? What is the breath, the inhale giving you? Do you feel the vitality, the pranic flow? And let's see if we can keep this. Okay, there's no need for restriction. There's no need to kind of shrink back. Stay open. Bring your hands together and let's offer this open heart and this open breath. Invite all your guests that you want to offer your energy to. Invite your energy to flow toward them, this vitality that you've created, whoever you're offering to, send your energy. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. Let's see if I can see how to stop this. There we go.